Alright, beaders, I thought of something. Just as I was preparing to attach the herringbone chain, and I do not think I did it in this version, which is okay, but I'm going to show you a little something. So remember what I said? It still is really loose right here. And it might not be that structurally sound. It might not feel like that. I mean, it is, but you might just want a little extra security. What I thought was to tie a knot. So after attaching the last group of seed bead, bicone seed bead, and then coming through the top corner of our last bezel bicone, I'm just going to stick my needle under this row of seed beads, basically under the back of the bezel, okay, like that. So you see I'm making a loop, and then I'm going to stitch through the loop again, just like how I was tying off as I was tying off each of the bezel bicones as I showed you before. So I stitch through the loop, I'm going to pull, and there we go. Yeah, I'm just going to do one knot, because we're not really like, you know, securing, like a finishing off or anything. We're just kind of keeping these guys together. So there, you can do that. And it's left up to you. Alright, so after I tie that knot, from here what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick up 2 seed beads. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I'm going to pick up 4. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4 seed beads. And so I made that knot right after the top corner of our bezel bicone. So after I pick up my 4 seed beads, I'm going to stitch back through that top corner. And it's going to sit kind of funny, which is okay. Don't worry, we will work that out, as we always do. Get them to stand up right. There we go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reinforce the 4 seed beads I just picked up, but I'm going to skip. I'm not going to touch. No, actually, I'm going to reinforce all 5. Sorry. So kind of through these 2. Stitch down through these 2 here. And then back through the corner bead, like so. Still a little wonky, don't worry, we will work on that, so it's okay. We're going to pick up 4 more seed beads. And we're going to stitch back through our corner bead, and we are going to reinforce all 5 beads again. I think you know what we're doing here. We're starting the base of our herringbone rope. Stitching through that corner bead. Don't confuse the corner bead with that 1 seed bead after the bicone. There is a difference. So I'm going to go through that corner bead right there. Oops, there we go. From here I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to stitch up through these 2 beads on the back, and then I'm going to stitch over through these 2 beads on the front. So I'm bringing the 2 rows together. I'm going to stitch back up through these 2 beads on the back, stitch down through these 2 right here, right next to it. I'm going to repeat the same steps. By stitching up through these 2 beads on the front. Now stitching back down through these 2 beads on the back here. And then back up to the front. And then, you know, from here you just pick up 2 seed beads. And because I want to have extra structure, I'm not going to just stitch down through this one. You know how you turn it over here. You know how you come up through these 2, this bead right here, pick up 2, and then you would just stitch down through 1 row right here. I'm going to stitch down through 2. So I'm doing that for that extra structure that with the thread making those extra passes through the beads, it gives it a really nice structure. And we want that because there's a way the pendant is formed. It's not a chain. Like with chain or rope around your neck, you want it to be really flexible. But because this is a pendant, I want that extra structure. So pick up 2. And we're going to go down 2 rows, just like that. Here we go, up 2 rows. And you pick up 2 beads. And then we go down 2. There we go. And then when we always step up through 3. So basically we are stepping up 2 plus the top row that we added. And I'm going to pause for a little bit and you can test it out for yourself and you can see that, you know, you can feel it's really stiff and we want that. We want that stiffness, okay? I'm running out of thread, so I'll just add a few more rows and go ahead and tie off. And then I'm going to add a chain. Or, sorry, herringbone rope. I keep calling it chain, I don't know why. But a herringbone rope anchored to the top corner bead on the 5th bezel bicone and work my way up. Alrighty, so you can see here, I went ahead, I added from the 2 rows that we started here, I added 13 more. So basically from the top corner bead of this bezel bicone here, there are 15 rows of herringbone here, and I went ahead and tied off. I left this part open, the top of it open here. You can see it's not stitched, these 2 are not stitched shut. And then tied off, and then added some new thread over here, tied in some new thread, and then added 15 rows of herringbone on the top. So this is the inside section of herringbone on the inside of the pendant, because we have 2 on the inside, 2 on the outside. All right. All right, so I've added the 15th row right here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stitch down. I'm coming out of the rows, the columns that are on the outside. So I want to stitch the 2 herringbone sections together through the columns that are inside. So I want to stitch this together and stitch this together right here. So I want to come down through these 2 beads, 2 rows actually. I'm stitching down 2 rows, like so, right here. I'm going to stitch up through on the other herringbone section, the 2 rows here on the inside. Stitch up through those 2, like so. And then I'm going to stitch through those beads again. So down through these, oops, down through these 2. Then up through these 2 right here. Pull. And so it brings it together. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. On the back side here. So I'm going to stitch down through these 2 beads, flip over, like so, stitch up through these 2, down through these 2 beads right here, and then up through these 2 beads over here. So those 2 rows, and then we come back down through these 2 and then up through these 2. Like so. So now you can see front and back these 2 sections of herringbone. They're stitched together. Twirl, twirl. Okay. So I'm gonna stitch down through these 2 beads right here. I'm gonna work my way back around to the front. Stitch up through these 2. Oops, I get my needle through there. There we go. Alright, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add 2 more rows of herringbone on top of this. So we're going to do 4 beads on this side, 4 beads on this side, and there's going to do 2 rows. So go ahead and do that. So I pick up 2 seed beads. Stitch down 1 row. Oh, got my thread tied around some pliers here. Okay, let me just get it out of the way. Come up. It's 1 row. Pick up 2 beads. I like to kind of turn around as I go. It just helps me to kind of hold my work better, but it's left up to you, whatever is easier for you. Do the same on the other side. Pick up 2 beads, go down 1. Come up 1, oops. There we go. So this is basically, you know, tubular herringbone that we're doing, believe it or not. It's just flattened, that's all. I don't wear the beads to kind of funny like it was doing there. It'll straighten out as we go on, so don't worry about that. So we're going to add one more row on this side and this side, doing the exact same steps. Alrighty, so from the 15 rows on each side of the herringbone, we had 2 at the top, but it's, you know, it's together. So we have it done. Alright, but this is where things are going to get a little tricky, so be patient with this. Alright, so after I've added the last row on the front and the back, I went ahead and stepped up here. Now I'm going to pick up 2 seed beads, just 2. And I'm not going to stitch this way. I'm going to stitch back across the aisle. So basically what I like to kind of refer to this as, you have the front aisle right here, and then you have the back aisle right here. Front aisle of seed beads, back aisle. Or you could say front face, back face, whatever works for you. So I'm coming out with the bead on the front aisle. I'm going to go down to the back aisle right here, like so, with those 2 beads. Like that. So you see how they sit on top. Flip it over. I'm going to stitch some coming out of this bead here on the side. We're going to call this, let's see, row, column 1. No, I'm going to call it column 4. Yeah, call it column 4. Right here. Stitch up through column 3. First, the top row of column 3. And pulling tight, we're going to stitch back through those beads that we initially picked up, those 2 that sit on top here. So do this one, flip it back over, like so, and then stitch down through column 3 on the front aisle, down 1 bead. Alright, so what this does, it takes these 2 beads and centers them on top and in the center of this herringbone section right here. So you see you have 1, 2, 3, 4 beads, and then you have these 2 that sit right in the center. And that's how it looks. Alright, so now we're going to stitch up through column 2. Pick up 2 seed beads. I really should have my beads in the frame here. There we go. That looks better. Alright. So I'm coming out of column 2. I pick up 2 seed beads. I'm going to stitch through column 2 on the back aisle right here, like so. And you pull. You want to maintain good tension, you don't want to yank it. We're going to stitch back up through column 3. Okay. Back through those 2 beads that we added on top. back down through column 3. On the front. And then we stitch back up through column 2. Pick up 2 beads again. Okay. We stitch back down through column 2 on the back side, on the back aisle. Stitch up through column 1 on the back aisle right here. Through the 2 beads that we added, this one right here. I like to do stitch to the top beads one at a time so that way I can pull and get them to stand up straight. And down through this bead here. And then down through column 1. There we go. So what we did was basically just kind of reduced the rows, the columns of herringbone from 4 to 3. And you can actually repeat those steps to go 4, 3, 2, and 1. A different project if you want to try it out, but we're not going to do that right now. So we're going to continue. Alright, so I'm going to come up through column 1 on the back, on the back aisle. Sorry about that. And then I'm going to come up. I'm going to call it column 1, 2, and 3 here. So I'm going to pick up 1 bead. Stitch down like so. So I'm coming out of the back. Pick up 1 bead, comes to the front. Stitch up through column 2 right here. Alright, now I'm going to get my bezel bite cone. This one right here, this guy. Pick him up. And I'm going to stitch through a bottom corner bead, like so. And then I'm going to stitch down, flip it over, and stitch down. Now you see how the thread like twists like that? We're going to work that out, so don't worry about that. Let me see, turn it around, okay. So from here, what we're going to do is we're going to come down through this bead, come up through this bead, and then back up through column 2 here. So this is like column 3 of the former row right here. I'm sorry, column 2, and go up through column 3 here. Like so. And then we're going to go back up through column 2 on this row. Like so. Now we want to center this out, so our thread came out of this side of the bezel bicone. It came out of this side through the bead on this side, so we want to go through this side here. and that helps centers it. See? Now it's centered. So we're going to flip it back over. And we're going to come back down for column 2 in the front. And just pull. And you see it's centered. Okay. Column 3, this top row. We'll pick up 1 bead coming out of the front aisle, and then we're going to stitch down through the back aisle. So we've added the 2 rows of herringbone and 1 of the bezel bicones that are going to be at the top, because this one's going to go above it as well. All right. So from here, what you can do is stitch down a few rows and tie off. Hold on. There we go. I just stitch behind the beads, behind the thread, and make a loop, stitch through that loop, and pull. So this part is done. So now what we're going to do, we're going to repeat the exact same steps as we did before to add the section of herringbone here, tubular herringbone. We're going to do the same thing on this bead here and this bead. So basically you just come through the corner bead of the bezel, pick up 4, reinforce, pick up another 4, reinforce, and then build your herringbone. And I believe we want to do 19, because it's going to be 19 rows from this corner right here to the side of the bezel. It's going to be attached on the side right here and then here. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, 19. I was right, 19. All right. So we'll go ahead and do that step next.